Well, earlier this evening I caught up with the First Minister Alex Salmond in Edinburgh, and I began by asking him if he thought Wendy Alexander's change of heart was an extraordinary stroke of good luck for him.
I think there's two good things in it, apart from all the sort of conflagration and confusion and the Labour Party in total disarray, which in itself is quite good. But the first is there's a concession of principle. The principle that the Scottish Parliament can have the referendum and decide Scotland's future. The Scottish people can decide Scotland's future. And secondly, of course, despite all the fog of confusion surrounding who said what to whom when, there is a consistent theme. The only consistent theme is that the Labour Party in Scotland now seem to be in support of a referendum bill. Now, that's a valuable concession. So I think these are two steps forward as the Labour Party tears itself to pieces.
But what you need to do is get together now, don't you, with Wendy Alexander and do a deal?
Well, I think Gordon Brown's having a bit of difficulty doing that, so I'm not sure that the efficacy of getting together with Wendy is the best advice I've ever heard. But I take the...
But you would be willing to, presumably.
Well, I take it at its word that if we introduce, as we will, the referendum bill in 2010, and we're having the referendum in the latter part of the year, then we'll have the Labour Party's encouragement and support in the Scottish Parliament for that process. That seems to be a significant step forward. I think before I get together with anyone, I think I might let them settle the position first.
But if they do settle the position, as in what Wendy Alexander seems to be saying, which is that she'd like a referendum as soon as possible, which realistically would mean a year, 18 months, you would only have to change your position by a matter of months. You're not going to be awkward on that, are you?
We're going to go ahead with a referendum in 2010, and we're going to seek to get it through the Scottish Parliament. It looks like the Labour Party, unless they U-turn on the U-turn, well, certainly if Wendy Alexander's still leader then, are going to have to support it. I think that's a good steady course. Now, the reason we said 2010 in the manifesto was not an accident. We said it for two reasons. Firstly, we wanted to demonstrate the SNP's competence or authority in government. We're doing that, but we wanted to do it over a period of time. And secondly, we wanted to have the national conversation with the people of Scotland about what independence means in the modern world, in an interdependent world, and also the range of constitutional options that people can discuss. We wanted to have that conversation because we think that's a prerequisite of having the referendum. We think it's a good process. And incidentally, with 400,000 people have had hits in the websites, the institutions of Scotland are preparing to have the debate. It's a debate we're all going to join in and enjoy.
I can understand why, from your narrow political interest, you want to give people 4 years to see what you're like in government. But whether or not Scotland should become independent is a huge matter of principle for the people of Scotland. I mean, you're confusing that with the fortunes of the Scottish National Party, which is not the same thing at all.
Well, no, I think the
reason... you are. You're identifying yourself with the people of Scotland.
Well, I hope to identify myself with the people of Scotland as much as possible. That's part of the process of being a national leader. No, what I mean is you're
identifying your party interests with the interests of the people of Scotland.
I don't think it is just party interests. You see, I think people have been crying out for leadership, determination in government. And I think the process of having that style of government as opposed to an executive in Scotland is helpful in terms of people's ability to look at self-government and see the self-confidence and the opportunity. So I think it's more than just what's good for the SNP. I mean, you might as well argue, since the SNP are riding so high in the opinion polls, we should take a sudden dash for a referendum now. I think it's in the interest of Scotland to demonstrate that over a period of time. And secondly, this national conversation is not just something we dreamed up, it's something we planned. We think it's a process that we have to go through. What I hear from lots of people in Scotland is they're sympathetic to the idea of independence. They're encouraged by the progress the Scottish Parliament's making, but they want to have more information about what independence means in the modern world. I want to give them that information.
If Wendy Alexander and the Labour Party come to you with concrete proposals to give you the referendum you've spent years and years and years asking for, and which without their support you can't get, and remember that's crucial, you can't get it without their support, and all you've got to do is compromise by a matter of months, you would look extremely foolish if you said, I'm having nothing to do with that.
Well, they've already committed themselves to supporting a referendum bill. Duncan McNeill said gloriously yesterday they are no longer going to stand in the way of a decision by the Scottish people. So can we not just stick to the manifesto in which we won the election and have the referendum in 2010 when we said we were doing it?
Wasn't it slightly bizarre that right in the period of a few days when the leader of the Scottish Labour Party has handed you on a plate what you most want, that the reaction of your deputy today was to call for a resignation?
Well, I think she was asked the question, is Wendy Alexander's position tenable? And I don't think you could answer anything other than say it looks pretty untenable. I mean, I'm not sure who's trying to get who, whether it's Wendy Alexander trying to get Gordon Brown or Gordon Brown trying to get Wendy Alexander, but they seem to be making a good job of destroying each other's credibility. I don't think Wendy's position looks particularly tenable, and I'm sure Nicola was answering the question directly. It's a weakness, I know, from the SNP government, but nonetheless should be answering a question.
But
the position's not
the point is, you're not an opposition party anymore, you're a party of government. You don't go around demanding the resignation of the leaders of the opposition. Why aren't you saying, look, we welcome this overnight conversion to SNP policy, and we look forward to working with you, not oh, your position's untenable, Yahoo sucks, you better go.
I know a range of Scottish journalists who have nefarious thoughts, who believe I'm desperately trying to keep Wendy Alexander in office. I think if Nicola Sturgeon's asked a direct question, is Wendy Alexander's position tenable after today's performance by the Prime Minister, Prime Minister's questions, I think it's reasonable to answer that question as no, it doesn't look very tenable.
Now, what about the points Wendy Alexander makes about the technicalities of introducing a bill? Her argument would take a year, so you can't do it in 2010 as you proposed.
We've just put through 2 bills in the Scots Parliament, one on abolishing bridge tolls, very popular, one on abolishing student fees, a graduate endowment, quite a complex piece of legislation, financial implications. We did both of these in 5 months. Wendy Alexander's totally wrong about that. You can introduce a bill in the early part of 2010 and have the referendum in the autumn of 2010. That's been our intention for some time. Again, I actually said that at the launch of the second phase of the national conversation in March. That's perfectly doable. But, you know, Wendy Alexander's command over the Scottish Parliament's procedures, I mean, she doesn't even know that in 3.9, the standing order, you cannot take as a member's bill something through the Parliament which the government have already indicated they're going to legislate on in the term of Parliament. And believe me, we're going to legislate on this in the term of the Parliament.
Is it your view, personally, that Labour have put you a step closer to your lifetime's ambition over the last few days?
Straight answer, yes.
Alex Salmond, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.